you.
I was reading about your initial involvement in the Black Lives Matter protest. It happened very organically. At that moment, there's suddenly global momentum.
Yes.
What hopes did you have for the movement then?
Well, firstly, I have to say there were several ideologies, so many people wanted different things throughout the movement. For me, I was very much focused on reform and building awareness about the different forms of racism. So ultimately, it always starts with, again, just having that open conversation, that national conversation. And I think we've ultimately achieved that. I think we've definitely achieved a greater level of societal consciousness, which is another aim for myself personally.
It facilitated being able to have conversations we couldn't have had easily before.
Which is the main thing. Yes, that's one of the main things. But of course, let's be honest, the main focus was always institutionalised racism and trying to combat racism within institutions.
How much change have you seen in the last 2 years?
Oh, wow. OK, so, well, of course, I've just mentioned a few positives. There's been several negatives, in my opinion. I've seen a lot of virtue signalling, a lot of people following the trend, jumping on the hashtag. I've found that a lot of people haven't necessarily fulfilled their 2020 BLM commitments and pledges. And then, of course, if we actually look at the last 2 years, we've kind of gone on a quite disgraceful journey, really. We had of course, the race disparities report that came out last year that ultimately gaslit the entire black and brown community. We've also had kind of clickbait galore, where we've had the media and the government ultimately using racism as clickbait, and this has fostered a climate of racism denying and gaslighting and anti-woke vitriol. So that's something that I've also noticed. We've also seen several other issues.
What would you really like to see companies, organisations do? I mean, we had the police, for example, pledging that they were going to commit and promise to be anti-racist. What does that mean when you hear something like that? Surely it's better for them to make the commitment publicly rather than not even at all.
Well, I think it's the exact same thing that I've been saying for the last 2 years, which is that trying to rectify a problem as opposed to actually admitting its existence seems to be the kind of behaviour that we see within society, and I think it's nonsensical. You cannot fix a problem, you cannot rectify a problem without obviously accepting and admitting its existence. I think firstly the police need to admit that they are institutionally racist, and at that point we can then start to delve into this new race action plan that's just recently come out, and then find the areas that clearly contradict with the new policies that Priti Patel was recently announced. So I think there's a lot of contradictions going on at the moment.